I was going to be a neurobiologist because I was just interested in the brain, loftily. Like, I didn't actually know what that would mean in terms of being in the lab and like really kind of grinding out like a science career. And I was broadsided by like how tough that work was going to be and sort of the lack of creativity and sort of like the foundations of those things. I was not feeling satiated, my creative identity, my like innate need to make things. So I ended up switching university majors and immediately wanted to do costume design and I wanted to do sculpture. And those two things felt very, very connected to me. No one understood. None of my advisors, mostly I think they're out of a moniker of care. They were afraid I was going to get burned out because it's a very like vigorous course of study to do 2 fine arts degrees. But I'm a little stubborn when I can kind of see things out into the future. I think about garment in the same way as I think about sculpture and artwork and objects. I want to relate to them with my body. And so to build volume in space, I understand the world in that way. Building volume in space with cloth, with wood, with metal, it all speaks the same language to me. And the beauty of thinking about textile and garment as you're thinking about sculpture and artwork is that there's this performative part on top of it. There's like this idea that like the materials can become more when you relate to them, when they move, when they have a capability that you can kind of draw out. And so the realm of theater, the realm of the performing arts, dance, puppetry has always been a part of my thinking about like fine artwork and producing sculpture and like those kinds of things. It's not a static object. That is what makes us human, is our ability to kind of connect to other people and to like put ourselves in their shoes. And I find an incredibly rich environment to do that through materials, through materiality, to like have these things that you want to touch with your fingers. And I also examine that too because it speaks to our need to like be touched, to like hold a hand and to have something handheld. So I'm putting a lot more of my autobiographical self and like my own personal experience of like my like psychological experiences, emotional experiences back into my work, because I've always felt that these like found materials or things that I reclaim from the world after their useful life or they've been deemed useless, they have a history. They have a history like we do. They carry with them all of these phases of production and extraction and have been through all these things, had all these hands touching them over the course of their useful life. And that doesn't go away. So that's like incredibly like rich like material narrative that I'm trying to like continue to elicit. Since I've been in New York City, it's been 15 years, I am really drawn to the material landscape all around us. This place is dense, this place is crowded. That can feel overwhelming sometimes, but that also like is so rich for someone who makes physical things with their hands. I have been working with reclaimed materials, found objects, like surplus things from workrooms and small manufacturing spaces, because I'm also in those spaces as like a practitioner for this whole duration. More recently, I've been drawn to clay, which was a big surprise. So last summer out of residency, I was given the keys to the castle, basically, of like, do you want to work with this? Like, do you want to work in the ceramic studio? Do you want to work in this glass studio? Like, we have this beautiful wood shop. Like, all of it is at your disposal. And that was like an incredible gift because I had some thoughts about like things that experiments, like truly experiments of just learning about the material or learning about what a material can do in a kiln. And it has blossomed into this like really heavy, serious body of work. And I don't mean in subject matter, but I mean like production wise and, somewhat subject matter, because like, with the clay, I'm now working in porcelain like almost exclusively. I've just like fallen in love. Like truly, it does feel like a love affair. It feels like this like real enamor. I'm enamored with this material because I'm just beginning to understand how it makes meaning for me. Because I'm such a process-based artist. The skills, the production skills are important to me because they mean something, like bring something conceptual about labor and about energy and about our human capacities into the work. I am always checking in about like, does this serve my ethos? Like, does this serve the body of work? Like, am I staying on course? To have the conceptual motivations be served in like process, materials, form, ornamentation, surface finish, like all of those things. Clay like keeps me on task. It's amazing. I work frequently in like a few different series at a time. Like I've got probably like 3 bodies of work going right now, and like that is like exactly how I want it. Like it's good for me to kind of bounce back and forth from a few different little streams that are like going at the same time. Like the found object work always starts with this collection, right? It starts with like the attention and care to materials, and that frequently means traipsing around New York City and finding things. The collection and the care, the cleaning, the sorting is like probably, I would say 50% of making any sculpture that's made out of found objects, which is everything I do. And so that's a whole practice in itself. And like that's energetically, it consumes a lot. And it's something I have to acknowledge as like part of my medium, really. It's like this care and this care ethic that I bring before I even start like making something. I will pluck something off the top of a garbage pile. I will go to a material reclamation space, like Build a Green or Materials for the Arts, find a set of blinds. So I take apart the blinds, I clean them, I sort them, and then I kind of like evaluate what they can do. I also like sort all the materials, so it's like the cording that comes out, the little plastic bits, the little metal bits, all of those things have a place. But the slats for this body of work are cleaned and then sorted, and then I start to like kind of really just play with them. That will always be a part of my work. It's like this sense of discovery and understanding like what I'm drawn to and what I'm not. But then I literally start playing, iterating like a single unit. And then that unit is then, there's like some simple math involved. I'm not modeling anything in a program. I'm not doing anything on the computer. I'm literally like I'm sculpting in space with my hands to make these shapes. And then it goes on from there. And so then I'm just trying to kind of wrap it up with the materials, the finite materials that I have, and create a form that is like intriguing to me, that is like saying something to me that might move and wiggle, might not, depending on the nature of the material, and just like kind of having this constant back and forth. My studio is a closed ecosystem. Like things are not waste here. And so if there are offcuts, if there are like materials that are discarded, which is I plan those out, truly. That's a parameter I put in, is to like not create more waste. Is like if I offcut something, those offcuts are part of the next project or part of some other element of an installation or something like that. And so nothing really goes to waste in that way. I'm trying to like loosen up a little bit in my more recent years to just make sure that's not like stymieing any kind of creativity or like putting myself too much in a box. But it's hard because those considerations are like really, really central to the ethos of making work at all, because they speak volumes to like the way we exist in this planet, on this finite place, and overconsume, and we're not living in alignment with like the carrying capacity of our home. And so those big picture, those really big picture considerations become very small. I can like work with them like in the palm of my hands in my studio. Like that, like just that consideration will like have me making work until I'm 90 years old.